You don't need to finish every digital art piece in one day to be productive, and you don't need to spend 2 weeks on every design to make it worth selling either. In this video, you're going to learn how long a digital art project should actually take, what has a tendency to slow you down, what speeds you up, and how to plan your art time so you can create digital art products without burning out. If you've ever felt slow, behind, hello, or unsure whether a piece is taking too long, this video will help. And especially in the land of super fast, hurry up and get it done, it can be a little rough, but it's okay. We're going to talk about it. So, of course, the thing you don't want to hear, the real answer is there's no single perfect timeline. I know, right? Click run away from the video. But don't go just yet. A digital art project doesn't have a correct length of time. The right timeline is going to depend on what you're making, how polished it needs to be, and where you plan to sell it. A sticker pack is not the same thing as a printable wall art set. A seamless pattern is not going to be the same as a custom portrait. And a social media illustration is not the same as a product meant to earn money for months. So, if you keep comparing one project to another, you're going to feel off track, even when you're doing just fine. So, a fast project isn't always going to be a better project. A slow project isn't always going to be a stronger project. The best timeline is going to be the one that matches the purpose of the piece. And if you want to sell digital products, repeatable process is going to matter more than random speeds. That's right, you're going to need a process. Your art time should support your income goals, not fight you every step of the way. So, what does too long actually look like? A project is taking too long when the extra time is no longer improving the results in a meaningful way. That's the point many artists miss because it's so easy to tweak this, nudge that, tiny detail here that your buyer is never going to notice, even though you think it might be the chef's kiss. You can also rush a piece so that it looks too unfinished and weak as well. Both of those problems can cause you money. Both problems can cost you money. The goal is not speed at all cost. The goal is being useful and selective with your time. And trust me, I know how easy it is to get wrapped up. I've been working on creating some new brushes for my customers this week, and I spent several hours yesterday making different sequin brushes, only to go to bed last night and think, how many people are going to need all these different sequin brushes? Yes, it could be useful, but at the same time, how many people are really using this many sequin brushes? I think looking back, I could have more efficiently spent my time elsewhere with maybe a more, not basic, but a more well-rounded brush that more people were likely to have a use for. Do you see what I mean? And sometimes it can be really hard because when you're in it and you're going, and so I get it. But if your extra time makes your art clearer, stronger, and more sellable, it can be worth it. If your extra time is fitting into your perfectionism, it's probably a bit too much. If the file still has some obvious issues, of course, you're going to want more time. But if the product looks good, if it prints well, and it fits your buyer, you might be done. You might need to just walk away. One more texture, maybe not be the end-all be-all for your piece of work. When you sell digital products, your timeline needs to make sense for the price. If you spend 12 hours on something that will earn $5 once, that's going to be a problem. And if you spend 4 hours on a product that can sell over and over, that might be a great use of your time. So you definitely have some things to consider. And also, on that note, are you spending 12 hours because the product needs it? That's something else you really need to stop and think about. So, just between us and everyone else on the internet, how many of you have spent way too long on a piece? Drop your average art time in the comments. Does it vary, or are you notoriously spending way too long on all of your projects? I'd love to know if you're a fast finisher or someone who keeps on refining for hours. I'm definitely guilty of being in that second camp. So, let's talk a little bit about realistic time ranges by project type. Rough time ranges are going to help you plan a bit better. There are no hard and fast rules. These are going to be working ranges that make sense for many digital artists, especially if you're wanting to sell your work. So let's talk about quick digital products. For simple products, you might spend anywhere from 1 to 3 hours total, especially if you already know your style and your workflow. Keep in mind, all of these are going to take you longer if this is a new product. It's going to take you several times to do the process without hiccups and bumps along the way. I like to say repeating something at regular intervals, at least 10 times, really locks it in and gives you a good idea of how long it will take. But it takes a while to get there. So your first 1 or 2 times, you're going to be slower. So anyways, a single simple sticker design that can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. A small set of matching stickers that can take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. Basic quotes or simple printables, we're talking 30 minutes to 2 hours. And a mini clip art set can take anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours, depending on your level of detail. Now, what about medium effort products? And these are going to be things like wall art sets, planners, pattern collections, where you're making multiple products. These are going to take more planning because the art has to work together in a cohesive set. So if you're doing a printable wall art collection, give yourself 2 to 6 hours. Seamless patterns with color versions, anywhere from 3 to 8 hours. Branded social media templates with original illustration, anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. Planner pages with decorative art, 4 to 8 hours. And remember, if you're new at this, it's going to take a lot longer than these estimated time. So definitely give yourself grace, but you won't really be finding out your sweet spot for good pricing until you've had some practice. Now let's get into high effort art projects. These are going to be custom illustrations, layered scenes, products that have lots of details. If the piece has more detail, more revisions, more file prep, you're going to have a lot more time spent. So detailed illustrations for possible product covers, anywhere from 4 to 10 hours. A large digital product bundle that has multiple matching assets, you're looking at anywhere from 8 to 20 hours. Custom portraits or commissioned style pieces, this could be easily 5 to 10 hours or more. And a product line where you're doing several coordinating artworks, it's often spread across multiple days. Or if you're like me and healing from an injury, it can span a couple of weeks because your girl is having all the arm trouble still. But the biggest mistake is using the same time standard for every project. There's going to be differences, and we don't need all the guilt. We need to be smart. We need to be paying attention, and we need to know that some products should be made more quickly, and others are going to need more time because they have more parts, more polish, and more prep before they're even ready to sell. So let's talk a little about what actually affects your timeline. This is where your real answers are going to come from. Your skill level and tool comfort. If you know your software well, you're going to move faster. If you're still learning layers, brushes, masks, file sizes, export settings, oh my, everything is going to take longer. It's normal. It's part of the process. New tools add time. Familiar brushes save time. Keyboard shortcuts save time. Repeating a style lowers decision-making time. Now let's talk about that amount of decision making. Many projects feel slow because you're not just drawing, you're deciding. You're choosing your style, your color, layout, texture, size, product format, and your audience. Decision fatigue can eat up a huge part of your art session. Picking from too many ideas slows you down. Working from a clear brief speeds you up. Using saved palettes, templates, and references helps out a lot. And a product with one clear purpose is faster to finish. The more detail you add, the more time you need. But detail only helps when it supports the final product. If your art will be printed, tiny details may not really matter. And I've learned this the hard way by making planner stickers. And if you're thinking about planner stickers, they're about this big. I've included tons of detail only to print them out and realize you can't see it at all. So that's just time I wasted. But you're not going to know that until you're there, until you practice, until you print it out and test it. And then you're like, oh, I'll remember for next time. So now we come to revisions and second guessing. And that is huge. Revisions can double your timeline, and second guessing can triple it at least. Constant changes often come from unclear direction. Saving versions can reduce fear and help you move on. So make sure you're definitely saving drafts of your work. And setting a stopping point keeps you from polishing forever. We need rules sometimes, and that's okay. And your checklist helps you finish with confidence and it gives you some guidelines. And a lot of artists only count drawing time. But if you sell digital project, the project includes everything. We're talking making sure your files are cleaned up, ready to go. Are they exported onto your computer? Do you have your PNG, your Procreate file, or your Photoshop file, or your PDF? Do you have your mockups, your product images? Do you have your cloud storage host where you're able to get the software? Do you have all your prepped files in a nice file ready to go? Do you know what your listing is going to say, your keywords? So, yeah, finishing the artwork is just the fun part. You have all these admin details that you still have to do after. So, I know, now we've talked about all the stuff, all the things, how long things can take. Let's talk about a simple timeline you can actually use. So, if you want a better sense of how long your own projects should take, let's use this simple time framework. It's going to keep it realistic and stop the guessing. And remember, it's going to take longer if you're new or if you're new to a project. So, step 1, estimate the project time before you start. Write down the type of product, set the product's purpose. What is it going to do? Your personal post, your product listing, your commission, bundle, or print. Choose a rough time cap and pick the level of detail before you even begin. So what this looks like is splitting your project into stages so you can have your little time slots. So sketching and planning, that's going to be 20 to 30% of your total time. Your drawing and your refining is going to be 40% of your time. Coloring and finishing, another 20 to 30%. And your export, your mockups, your product prep needs to be about 10 to 20% of your final project. Now let's see. Let's do some math. Did that add up? If we do have 20% for sketching and another 20% for drawing, another 20% for coloring, and then 20% for export, mockups, and product prep. That's 20, 40, 60, 80. Perfect. It gives us another 10% to play with. So you might find that some stages take you a little longer and a little less time. So like once I have my sketch and planning done, the line art doesn't normally take me a huge amount of time. It's going to probably take me more on the coloring, and honestly the exports, the mock-ups, and the product prep, they feel like they take me forever. So I need to give myself a bit more time on that. So I want you to track your actual time for 1 month to learn your patterns. You can use a phone timer, a notes app, or a simple spreadsheet. Track the project type and a final time. Notice what always slows you down. Build future estimates from your data. That's why I know where I get slowed down. The exporting, the listing, the keywords. Yeah, all those pieces take me way too long. I need to speed that up. It does help when I remember to make multiple of the same product before I'm allowed to move on to a different project, because then you're inherently doing the same thing using the same mock-ups. Obviously, your keywords are going to differ by product, but your listing language is going to be similar. Your files are going to be similar. It starts to get a bit more rinse and repeat. So when you start to track your time, you get to stop guessing. You stop calling yourself slow without proof. You start seeing where your time goes, and that gives you control. You can figure out where you're wasting time or whether you're just beating yourself up for no reason. If you want more practical help on turning your artwork into sellable digital products, make sure to subscribe and don't be a stranger. Now, what if you already have a process in place and you're just wondering, am I leaking time or do I have this? No worries. We'll talk about a few signs that your project timeline is awesome. It's healthy. You're in a good place and you don't need any of this advice. You can just hang out because it's fun sometimes. Maybe you're lonely. Anyways, back to the point. The 6 signs. So, you usually finish when you planned to because you're awesome. You already had a plan when you were going to finish. You can repeat the process without feeling drained, worn out, panicked. Your finished art is good enough to sell with confidence. You're not stuck fixing tiny things for hours. You have time left to list, market, and make more products, and your work still feels enjoyable most of the time. A healthy timeline leaves room for your life, your energy, and your business. That's what we all want here. That's what we deserve. If every product is draining you, your process needs work, and that's okay. If every product feels rushed, your standards need work. All right, now let's talk about those of us who might be wondering if we're taking too long. And guess what? There'll also be signs. Let's say you restart pieces often, you spend more time fixing than you do creating, you change direction halfway through, you zoom in all of the time and lose the full picture, you avoid finishing because that feels scary or icky, and you make very few products each month, even though you work a lot. Dun, dun, dun. If you keep saying, I worked all week and still have nothing ready to sell, that's a workflow issue. It may be a skill issue in some cases, but often it's a planning issue, a perfectionism issue, or a product choice issue. And I get it. I somehow pick the most difficult product to make every time. Do I start with one brush? No, for some reason, a set of 20 brushes. And then multiple sessions later, I finally get that clarity. It's, oh, I could have made one brush. But clarity, sometimes she doesn't show up on the first few projects. But she will arrive. She's a little slow, but you'll get there. So let's talk a little bit about how to finish faster without lowering your quality. You can cut your project time without making your art worse. In many cases, your art gets better because your process gets cleaner. Tell me about it. So you're going to reuse canvas sizes for common products, save color palettes for your brand style, build a brush set that you love to use a reference folder for product themes, limit your early choices, create product templates for mock-ups and listing images, batch similar tasks, sketch several ideas together, and export files together. Set a detail limit or a texture limit based on your product size and what your product is, and stop at the point where your buyer gets clear value. And that might be a question you need to answer before you start, what the clear value is for your customer. Now you're a little artist and you're going to tinker and play, not you. So you don't need more pressure. You need a few repeatable decisions. You need a plan. Every time you move one small friction point, your project moves faster. That's going to add up across the week, and that matters a heck of a lot when you're trying to grow a shop, when you're trying not to abandon your family, and when you're trying to make sure both of your arms work, is especially the one that you do everything with. Don't be like me. Use me as an example of what not to do. And the answer is too much. I'm doing too much. All right, that's going to bring us to the best timeline for artists who want to sell digital products. That's why you're here, right? Because it's not the video quality. Your girl's trying. She's getting there. She's got a cool sign now. All right. So, if your goal is to sell digital products, your timeline needs to support your output. That doesn't mean rushing. It means choosing projects that fit your season, your skill level, your audience, and your energy. At first, shorter products can help you build with confidence and list faster. Later, you can add larger pieces, bundles, and build out collections. You're going to start with products you can finish in a few hours, build a small repeatable catalog first, add more detailed products once your workflow is stable, and you're going to measure your success by finished sellable products, not just hours worked. And let's protect that creative energy so you can stay consistent and take breaks, touch grass, hug your kids, flirt with your husband or your wife, do your stuff. But this one's hard. I gave an example of a brush set, and I never learned my lesson. I'm working on some moth doodle pads right now, and it's like, I want to make a collection, and oh, there needs to be lots of details. So, what a doodle pad is, it's artwork that a beginner or someone that just wants to relax, chill out, and vibe and trace over the lower opacity line art. And after they trace it in, they can color it in. So it not only gives you that nice zen line art tracing, but then the coloring as well. And it also helps build hand control, and you don't have to figure out all the answers anyways. I decided on a collection. I decided they needed to be pretty detailed, and I wanted to create them all and bundle them together. Why didn't I just start with one? And obviously, I had to start with one drawing at a time, but I immediately went into all the different rough sketches of several different pieces, I think 6. And it's like, why, girl, why? Practice what you preach. It's a learning process. And like I said, sometimes you won't realize it until you've already jumped off the deep end and you're like, hello. But that's where you learn. That's where you grow. That's where you develop. And if you don't ever start, you won't ever learn these lovely tidbits of wisdom. So if you want to shop full of art products, consistency is going to be random long work sessions. One finished product every few days can build real momentum. 10 half ideas cannot. I did see myself this time, and I was like, whoa, how about we stop? Let's go ahead and finish one of these. Let's go ahead and make the mock-ups and list it. Then we're going to do the next one, and then we can list it. So that's what we're doing now. Even though we made a big old plan, we are now going in and doing the individual products and listing them one at a time. Yeah. But I do have a simple rule you can remember, and it goes a little something like this. A digital art project should take long enough to look good, work well, and feel worth selling, but short enough that you can repeat the process without stress. That's the standard. If a project takes so long you dread making the next one, you need to figure out what gives. If a project moves so fast that the result's like, meh, you need to go in and spend some more time. Keep testing until your timing fits both your art, your goals, and where you're at in the learning process. And if you want to stop guessing and start making digital art that actually fits your schedule and your shop goals, you should definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can learn the process with me. I don't pretend to be an expert. I'm a few steps ahead in this journey, and you can watch me make all these mistakes. So hopefully you won't have to. And you can also join us in the Art to Income membership, where I do the keyword research for you, find out what's trending and doesn't have huge competition, and give you a project idea with some lessons and steps so you can get to creating fast and get something in your shop that is sellable. You can check that out. I'll leave it in the description below. And I hope you have a great day, and I will see you again real soon.